Hi, Sandy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the A.D.K, a rock and metal channel. Okay, so for today's video, we have a little discussion. It's a short discussion, possibly, or it could be a long discussion, I don't know. But here we go. Why are people banned fanatics? So I'll let that sink in for a minute. Now, the reason I got asked this, or I asked this question, is I had a dispute with someone on a comment on one of our videos. It was a band-made video we'd done, and I was talking about Miku and Misa, and about why I'd made the comment that Miku, who's the guitarist and vocalist, why she might as well have not have already been in the video, is what I said. Was the commentary I made in that particular video, because it was an instrumental and she was just playing a simple rhythm chords and wasn't really given the chance to shine, was what I was trying to explain. But everyone took it that I basically said that she shouldn't be in the band, is what people kind of read it as, which I obviously was not what I'd said. I've watched that video and I definitely didn't say it, but I made a point and said, well, actually I'm a fan of the band. And this person said, but you're obviously not a fan, because fan means fanatical, and you are not fanatical about this band, otherwise you would have never said that, and you would be. And I was like, whoa, I'm fairly certain fan and fanatical are not the same thing. So fan or fanatic? A fan, according to the American Heritage College, is an ardent devotee, an enthusiast. A fanatic is defined as a person marked by an extreme, unreasoning enthusiasm as for a cause. Then the distinction then apparently rests on whether the enthusiasm is ardent or unreasoning. And that's what we found, is with a lot of the fans, they're not fans, they're fanatics, because they are unreasoning in their commentary. Whereas me as a fan, I can take it either way. And I'm curious, because I don't understand when someone can get to that fanatical stage about a band. And I'm curious about, for you guys, for Andy and Kirk, because I'm not fanatical about any band. I'm a fan of a band, and I will list it, and if they do a bad album, I'll challenge it. And if someone gives me commentary and says, well, that band's shit, I'll be like Demon Hunter. I'm a fan of that band, and I forced it on you about 4 or 5 times, because I was like, and I've given you a broad spectrum of it, and if you guys don't like it, I think they're shit, I'll be like, fair play, that's your opinion. I don't think they are, but you guys might think that not like them. But I would never go, well, you fucking don't know what you're talking about, Andy. You're just a freaking boring old git, and you fuck off, and you don't know what you're talking about. Kirk, go away, fuck off.
That was another
I wouldn't be like that. But is there any bands that you do? Faith No More, maybe, Kirk? Would that be one for you that you might be classed from going from the fan to fanatical? And if that is the case, what makes it that way? I'm going to throw it over to you, Kirk, to start with.
Yeah, you're right. We can only speak from experience. So I have been a fanatic, and I'll mention the bands. The Smashing Pumpkins, certainly. Yes, Faith No More, The Cure, Depeche Mode. In the last 10 years, probably only that prog metal band Periphery have really got me elevated. You know, to that level, I'll go to every concert and I'll take it personal if an album's not up to the standard that I expect. On the other side, Andy has probably had a similar experience in you. I'm a loyal fan to certain bands, and it almost is masochistic, because you know that when they go through a rough spell, you're still going to buy the album. And Paradise Lost is probably my biggest example of that. I've just grown up with that band. 9 Inch Nails as well. They've not really had too many missteps. But there are certain bands, aren't they, Andy, like your friend, who didn't even like the last Iron Maiden album, but because he collects the memorabilia and wants the 12-inch version, he wants the picture discs, wants the dual case CD, you know, and he ended up spending over £300, didn't he? Yeah. So he's not a fanatic, but he's loyal. So
yeah,
loyalty can apply to both of them, but it depends on the level of depends on the level of ferocity of how much you really are in tune with it. But to answer your question, what makes somebody a fanatic? Look at it as certain bullet points, and not all of them will apply to you, but they can apply to other people. There's clearly a sentimental aspect. Did you discover music at a critical point in your life? did it get you through a certain period?
Yeah, so
Whether that
that's
was a euphoric period and that was the soundtrack to this era, or whether it was a dark period episode, something in between. So I think it always has the ability to do that. I could go through my CD collection, pick out every one really, and say, "Oh, I remember buying that from X Records in Bolton. I bought that from Action Records in Preston. I bought that from Piccadilly Records in Manchester on this day. Do you remember when such a body came and he bought that kebab and he spilled it over the floor?" Just things like that can draw you back in. You can also hear a song that you've just not heard that you might remember from your childhood that comes back and it has an emotional pull. Like my father passed away this year. I heard that Simple Minds song, All the Things She Said, and the middle eight, it's almost as if I'd suppressed how good that song was. I hadn't heard it for maybe 15, 20 years, and it just hits me every time now, and it's really hard to explain why. But in terms of Fanatic to be uncritical supporter of a band, to really back them, to even put yourself into arguments with people and be belligerent, I'm not really like that now. I think, is it possible to grow out of that? That's probably the question I want to put on to Andy.
Before Andy answers on that, I've got, because we're talking about it from a musical point of view, and obviously we know that there is also the fanatics can also be religious, etc. And I'm always wondering about, is it something that you slowly become a fanatical, and I mean, obviously, in things like political sides of it or religious sides of it, you can get indoctrinated, etc., and be kind of bombarded on it from multiple sides. But in music, you don't really get that side of it. I don't know if it's something that just naturally grows in you, because a great band that we talk about that hasn't been around for very long, Sleep Token. Now, there is a ton of fanatical people around that who are not actually that argumentative about it, but it's taken over their lives. They worship. It's because they also talk about the Sleep Token thing as it's a church, and so they've almost turned it into a religion. And I don't know if they've latched onto it for some reason, but I'm struggling to understand how a rational, sane person, goes from listening to an album and gets to that stage where it changes their life so much that everything they do is about that. They worship at this thing. They will not have a bad word said about it. They will get into fights about it. They will fret. And I'm like, but it's just music. Andy, over to you.
I think the key word that I've taken from this discussion is what you said in your intro, and it's unreasonable. If you challenge somebody on a band or a political view or a religious view, and they oppose it, their response is usually pretty unreasonable, because they're not listening to or even explaining why they've got to this level of fanaticism. I mean, I've never been. I think you can be a fan of something. If you're talking about music, you can be a fan, you can be a big fan, or you can be fanatical or a fanatic. And we've seen that on the videos. The responses to some of the videos we've done. I mean, Sleep Token's an example. Some of the Japanese ones as well, and there's more. It's almost, to me, as if you latch onto a band, if we're keeping you onto the music sort of theme, if you latch onto a band and no other band interests you, now that to me seems unreasonable. If you're a fan of Sleep Token, I mean, that's not a very good example because they don't fall into a particular genre. But if you're a fan of a band, why don't you like other bands in that genre? Why will you not hear anything else or have a word said against the band that you're so fanatical about? And another point I'd like to make is I think a lot of it as well is sort of peer pressure and one-upmanship. If someone's got 10 sleep token tattoos, you've got to get 11. If you've been to every tour, well, I've been to every tour and I've got the VIP passes. There's a lot of that, I think, in certain circles. I've kind of had a sort of insight on that when my daughters have been, sort of almost, I guess, fanatical about some of the pop bands that they follow. I'm not going to embarrass them by telling them what they are, but my youngest has been to probably 30 concerts in sort of 5 years and travelled around the country and bought unreasonably priced merchandise, but that's because she is really focused on this one band, rather than encapsulating the whole of that genre. I mean, we're talking pop and boy bands here, so it's kind of narrower. But I don't know. It's just the extreme focus on one aspect or one band that blinkers you from everything else, and that, to me, to use the word you said, is sort of unreasonable behaviour. Why can't you embrace and enjoy many more bands in that genre, or many more pop boy bands, or whatever else you're sort of following? I mean, when it comes to religion and politics, there is only one choice for you, which is why there is the fanaticism there, and it's more more commonplace. I mean, look at sort of Trump's rise in popularity in America at the moment. You know, some things I've seen about what his supporters have historically said and are saying now is just absurd. You know, but it's a strange phenomenon when this, you could sort of embrace so many more aspects and enrich your life more by bringing more bands into your circle of listening and your devotion to, without going 1,000,000% on one band or one artist.
So what I'm finding quite interesting is the types of music bands. So not all bands have fanatics, from what I can tell. There will be the odd nut job who's just completely off his trolley, and they're the ones you need to worry about and make sure you have your security at the side of the stage. But generally, if you were to go, right, Fear Factory, they have a lot of fans. I don't know how many people are fanatical about Fear Factory.
Yeah, they're big fans, but not fanatical.
You have a lot of fans, but not to the level of degree. But if you were to talk about, weirdly, so Nightwish has fanatics, but most of the fanatics are from the Target era. They're the ones that they're the most vocal in the groups, and they are all about Nightwish went downhill after Target, and they are adamant that is the case. They talk about a solo work. They talk about after that they don't give a Nightwish a chance. But there are Nightwish fans that will listen to all three of them.
Niche group though, Dave. That's another aspect, isn't it? You know, you could be. Not every Nightwish fan is a Tarja fanatic or fan. So if you're in a smaller little niche group of Nightwish fans who absolutely adore Tarja and ignore everything else, that's kind of exclusivity. And sort of
social belonging as well, isn't it?
Social belonging, yeah.
Yeah, because then you're able to
one of a million.
Your group.
If you're one of a million worldwide Nightwish fans, you're one in a million. But if you're one of 1,000 Tarja Nightwish, you socially. What was the phrase you used? Socially,
you're in that social. You're in your social groups. Your socially acceptable groups. Because it's one of the things I also start to think about is that. If you were sitting there, let's say you're single, you're alone, you're listening to music, but you find a group that you like the band of, and they've got an active social group with loads of people talking about it, you start talking to them in the group and start sharing, going, I've just discovered it. And then all these people go, yeah, you should check this song out and this song out. And next thing you know, you're part of this community. And now you want to protect that community because it's yours. Yeah. And that's why you don't want anyone disrupting that who comes on and says they're shit. You're like, as a community, no. Because the other thing I found was when you talk about fans talking, if you challenged a band and said this wasn't a good album or that song wasn't great, a fan will come and go, I actually really enjoyed it because of this reason. A fanatic will go, you know nothing, you're stupid, you don't listen, and they'll attack you. They never answer the question. Yeah. If you ask a question or challenge something, they never actually answer that. They just decide to attack you and that's what I've noticed. Is we get a lot of that. I
dare say that even most fanatics are harmless, though. We're just looking at the egregious examples, and the most obvious symptom of that is that element of narcissism where, this album that I believe is the best in the world, people do not see the world as I do and don't agree with me, and they're offended by that. So that's something different that says more about that person's personality and perhaps some of the defects in that personality. But I do say most fanatics are probably harmless, aren't they?
I would say
fans. They've got a lot of fanatics. I don't imagine one of them pulling you and saying, hey, have you heard Music for the Masses, this 1988 album? If you don't like it, then you're an enemy of mine. I can't imagine that happening. The other thing, what you just mentioned there as well, the fanatic, we always are thinking of them as socially awkward, potentially might have a more severe form of autism. Sorry, I know that could be offensive. I hope I'm not generalizing here, but we are talking about a stereotype. And we know that there's a certain ineptitude to those ones who have that stalker type mentality. But I'll just repeat, they're probably like less than 5%, aren't they? Metallica have fanatics. You know, I remember when Load came out, how many people who were Metallica fanatics cut their hair because the band had done it. That's what they needed after having long over 20 years to do it themselves and to grow a goatee. But they're not, you wouldn't expect them to give you a barrage of abuse if you said, actually, I think Ride the Lightning's poor production, but Master of Puppets is far better. You wouldn't expect those people to smash a beer can on your face, would you?
No. There we go. On that bombshell about a beer can being smashed in your face from Kirk, we can wrap that one up, I think. But I would love to know from people in the comments down below about fans. Are you a fan? Are you fanatical? What do you see about being the big difference? Are you a how did you become fanatical about a certain band? Let us know in the comments down below, because it's always good to have an open discussion about it. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.